Okay, Roshane, I'm hoping that after today we move on from this. This meaning mixed number, addition, and subtraction. The reason that we're not moving on yet is because I can see that in some of your problems, you are choosing a way to solve them that just doesn't make sense with the numbers that you actually have. And so I want you to be able to do something called, and don't worry about writing anything down yet, I want you to do something called flexible strategies. And that means that you have more than one way to solve. Okay, I'm writing this because I want you to see at the same time that as I'm talking what I'm saying. So flexible strategies means that when Roshane sees a problem, he looks at the numbers and he decides, which way should I solve this? Imagine when you're younger and you had an addition problem like 4 plus 3. I wrote the answer. Like 4 plus 3. Maybe you had to actually draw out a box here and put 1, 2, 3, 4 in, and then another box to represent the 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go back and count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But that's not the fastest way to solve this problem. Eventually, it just became a fast fact for you, I'm sure. And you know just from looking at it that the answer is 7. But in order to understand that, you had to gain flexible strategies along the way so that you don't just memorize the steps and not really look at the numbers. So now at this point in the video, I want you to pause it and go get your green notebook that you use for tutoring and something to write with. I always ask that you bring like more than one color because it helps when you're solving problems, but if not, it's fine. And then come back and go ahead and put the title of what you're doing and the date, just so that we keep a little bit of track, okay? So go ahead and pause this video and do that, and then press play when you are all set up. Okay, so we are going to solve two problems together where I show you the different strategies, and then you're going to do a word problem on your own. So the first problem is going to be 3 and 1/4 plus 2 and 2/12. Now the way that you've been taught is to look at this and say, okay, I need to change this to an improper fraction and this to an improper fraction before I can put them together. And to do that, I need to say 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13 and get 13/4, right? But I want you to just pause and look at the numbers before you start doing that. So you have 3. You have 1/4. Then you have 2, and you have 2/12. This 1/4 and the 2/12, they're not very big numbers. You can see pretty quickly that the 4 and the 12 are going to have something in common. Both of them fit into 12. So look at the numbers first and imagine, is it going to be faster to do 2 times 12 plus 2 and get 26/12 and have to deal with a number this big? Or can you simply just do the steps that you see? You see the 3, you see the 2, you see the plus, just put them together and start there. So 3 plus 2 is 5. Those are your whole numbers. Now you can go back to your problem and pretend that that 3 and that 2 are no longer there. So just cross them off. They're represented down here by the 5. So now your new problem just becomes 1/4 plus 2/12. So you have 1/4 plus 2/12. You need to figure out this and then combine it with the 5. So 1/4 plus 2/12, that's not a difficult problem. You should know how to do that already. You need to find the common denominators. The common denominator between 4 and 12 is going to be 12. So you do your 4 times 3 to get 12. You do the same thing to the top, and this fraction becomes 3/12. Now bring the rest down, and you have 3/12 plus 2/12. That equals, now you just do the addition across. 3 plus 2 is 5. Keep the denominator the same. 5/12. Don't forget about your 5 wholes over here. So now you put these two together, and your final answer becomes 5 and 5/12. So again, at this point in the video, pause, and you might want to listen again to the steps that we went through in order to solve this problem. So like I said, you can always go back. I just want to make sure that you have these steps all written down in your own way. It doesn't have to look like mine, so that you end up with 5 and 5/12, and so that you never actually had to convert or change these mixed numbers to improper fractions. But now I want you to make new space in your notebook. Maybe that means dividing up the page, or maybe you wrote really big and you need a whole new page. But now we are going to solve this problem another way, because we want to have flexible strategies. We want to be able to do this in more than one way, so that you choose which way makes the most sense when you look at the numbers. So rewrite 3 1/4 plus 2 and 2/12. Now let's do it the other way that you were taught, changing these mixed numbers to improper fractions. So I'm going to put a little arrow down here. 3 times 4 is 12, plus the 1 on top is 13. Keep the denominator the same. So 13/4 plus, now we'll do the same to this side, 2 times 12 is 24, plus 2 is 26. Keep the denominator the same. Now you have 13/4 plus 26/12. Wow, that is much more complicated than just doing the 1/4 plus the 2/12 that we did in the last steps. So now we still need to make sure that these denominators are the same to put them together. So I'm going to have to do 4 times 3 to get 12, just like this side. And now I'm going to have to do 13 times 3 to figure out what my numerator is. So I'm going to do that problem over here. 13 times 3. You can solve it how you want. I'm going to do 10 times 3 equals 30, plus 3 times 3 equals 9, and 30 plus 9 equals 39. Maybe you did it like this. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. We both got 39, hopefully. So 39 becomes my numerator. 39/12 plus 26/12. Okay, another step. Now I need to combine 39 plus 26. 39 plus 26. 9 plus 6 is 15. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus the 1 is 6. Now I have 65/12. I'm not done. I can't end with an improper fraction. I need to ask myself, how do I turn this improper fraction back into a mixed number? I need to ask, how many times can 12 fit into 65 without going over? Let's try 12 times 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 6 times 1 is 6, plus another 1 is 7. 72. I've gone over, so it must be 12 times 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 1, plus that 1 is 6. So it can go into 65 5 times without going past 62. So my whole number becomes 5 in my answer. So 5, and then I have these 5 left over because 12 went into 65 5 times, and that gave me the 5 left over. I kept this 12 as the numerator, as the denominator, and my final answer is 5 and 5/12. The same answer that we had when we solved it the first way, but the first way was so much faster. So again, I want you to think about having flexible strategies so that you can decide which strategy makes the most sense to use. So I keep saying, just pause this video whenever you want. I'm going to keep going. We are going to move on to a subtraction problem. And that's going to be 4 2/3 minus 1 1/6. So Roshane, you have equals blank. You have two options here. You can do 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 16, and get 16/3, and then do the same thing to this side. Or you can take the first strategy that I showed you and look at the whole numbers first and just get rid of them, bring them down. I'm going to choose to do that one first. So 4 minus 1 becomes 3. So the number that your first whole number in your answer you're going to be working with is 3. Now you don't need to worry about this whole number or this whole number. So our new problem becomes 2/3 minus 1/6. Now if I had just given you this problem, you would say, no problem, that's easy. I just need to get the same denominators to solve this. Between 3 and 6, that's going to be 6. 3 can go into 6 and 6 can go into 6. And we're going to do that by multiplying 3 times 2 and doing the same thing to the top. So that 2 becomes a 4 and that 3 becomes a 6. Now you have 4/6 minus 1/6 equals, now you can do it straight across. 4 minus 1 is 3. And you keep the denominator the same. Now we need to bring this guy back into our answer, and our final answer becomes 3 3/6. 3 is half, in this part, 3 is half of 6. So even more complete answer would be 3 1/2. 3/6 is the same thing as 1/2. So your answer is 3/2. So stay with me because now we are going to see if we get this answer, 3 1/2, by using the other steps that you know. So by this point you should have 3 problems done. The 3 different solutions on your page. The addition problem that we did solved in 2 different ways, and this subtraction problem solved in the first way. So by the end of this, you'll have 4 different solutions to these 2 different problems. So go ahead and rewrite 4 2/3 minus 1 1/6 equals blank. And let's do it using the other strategy. So we do 4 times 3 plus 2. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So this mixed number becomes 14/3 minus, now we do the same thing to the other side. We do 1 times 6 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and we have 7/6. Okay, we still cannot subtract this because our denominators are not the same. So we look at the 3, we look at the 6, and we choose 6 to convert the 3 to. To make 3 a 6, we need to multiply it twice. That means we need to do the same thing to the 14. 14 times 2 is a fast fact for me. It's 28. Just like 12 plus 12 is 24. I know that 14 plus 14 is 28. 3 times 2 is 6. 28/6 minus 7, 6. 28 minus 7 is going to leave me with that 1 left over in the 20s, so 21, 6. So this is not as overwhelming as that first addition problem. I'd say this is a fine strategy to use for this problem, but we still can't stop there. We need to turn 21, 6 back into a mixed number. And to do so, as usual, we need to ask ourselves, how many times can 6 go into 21 without going over? I know that 6 times 4 is 24, so that's over. So it must be 6 times 3 is 18. 18 is 2 away from 20, so that leaves me 2 left over. But we have 21 here, so that leaves me with 3 left over. So 3 and 3, 6. We've arrived at the same point we did in our last problem. Now we look at the 3, 6, and we know that 3 is half of 6. So 3 and 3, 6 is the same thing as 3 and a half. So again, converting this mixed number originally to an improper fraction here as our first step, that wasn't a bad idea. It didn't take us so long to get to this point, to get to our answer. The point is to choose which way you want to solve every single time you see a problem, to really look at the numbers and ask yourself, what makes the most sense? Which strategy should I use? Okay, and this is the word problem that I told you about. So don't worry, you don't need to write any of this down. You just need to pause the screen after I'm done talking so that you can easily read it and refer to it in order to solve it on your own. This part's important, solve and show your work, because I really want to see how you choose to go about solving this, because it requires you again to think about which strategy makes the most sense to put these numbers together or to take them apart, depending on what the problem asks you to do. So this is especially important with word problems, because word problems can be so frustratingly tricky. So let's just read this and figure out what the problem is asking you. Roshane wanted to make some, I erased it by accident, some Naruto themed curtains. How exciting, for his bedroom window. The material needed to be at least 6 yards long. At the store, he bought 2 pieces that he could sew together. One was 3 2/3, and the other was 2 4/12. Did he buy enough? Did Roshane buy enough material at the store to cover his window? Solve and show your work. So once you're finished with this, can you please send me pictures of, I'm going to actually make a little list here, what I want to see pictures of, okay? 1, I want to see your notes that show more than one way to solve the same problem. And then 2, and that's for the addition and the subtraction problem that we went over. And then 2, I want to see your solution and strategy to solve the word problem. Okay? So, again, your notes that show more than one way to solve the same problem, then your solution and strategy to solve the word problem, and then I'm going to leave the screen here so that you can actually see the word problem. Okay, so remember, just pause the video in order to help yourself. Okay, then take pictures of that and send it to me in a text message. Good luck.